Alright, hello everyone, it's Whitebox here. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. So I've played enough games of Spirit Island now that I think I'm comfortable trying to rank all of the spirits in this little tier maker here, just to give my thoughts on a tier list and how the spirits actually are. I've played a range of difficulties, all the adversaries, not every spirit against every adversary, but I feel like I have a pretty good feel for it. So I'm going to go ahead and try this. And for my S tier, top tier here, I'm going to do the kind of same thing that Red Revenge over on Board Game Geek did and use that as my breaks the game tier. So spirits that just kind of can really change the game in meaningful ways and potentially break it in certain combinations. I'm not going to order within tiers, so don't worry about that. And let me go ahead and get started. So my first tier here is going to be, or my first spirit, is going to be a spread of rampant green. And I'm going to go ahead and throw that up into S tier. That's my breaks the game tier. So Spread of Rampant Green has a Gift of Proliferation, and that can break the game. There are a lot of spirits that benefit from getting extra presence on the board faster. It's a reason why Growth through Sacrifice is probably the best minor power in the game. And Gift of Proliferation can be used potentially every turn if you wanted to go into a reclaim cycle. You usually don't want to do that, but still pretty frequently. And it can be repeated with things. So it's just an excellent card. And even beyond that, green just has really good support. It can stop actions, ravages, and builds, which is super powerful. And slowly chip away at invaders, and eventually can get pretty strong and use major as well. So that's going to be my first S tier spirit, because green in certain combinations can break the game. Not necessarily in true solo. In true solo, they're good, but not necessarily better than others. I'm kind of trying to use this tier list for all types of play, though. So I mostly play two-player and true solo, but green definitely better in team games. Still a strong solo spirit, though. Next up is Bringer of Dreams and Nightmares. So I really like Bringer of Dreams and Nightmares. They were the first spirit that I beat level 6 adversaries with. Actually beat Sweden, Brandenburg, Prussia, and England back to back to back. But they have some flaws, and fear spirits in general are weaker as the player count goes up. So while it's really good in true solo, because you can just basically generate a fear card or two every turn, once that gets harder with higher player counts, I think they do get a little weaker. They don't necessarily have the best support, although they work well in certain combinations, like with Ocean or Mists. Kind of one note, though, very much a major power spirit, and can really kind of do the same thing every game. So they lack a little bit of versatility, and in certain matchups they can struggle. France especially, because they can't kill towns. That one's pretty tough for Bringer. So for Bringer, since they have some flaws, I do enjoy Bringer a lot, though, and I think they shine in true solo, so I'm actually going to put Bringer in my C tier. They're kind of solidly average. Good at some things, not very versatile, though, and can struggle in other matchups. So that's going to be my first C tier spirit. Next up, I have Downpour Drenches the World. Downpour... Yeah, Downpour is going to go in A. Downpour is just super strong. The ability to repeat powers on lands is amazing. The defense and stalling that they can offer until they can get to the point when they can repeat majors or repeat cheap cards that give you lots of fear. Excellent. Having Isolate's really good. It's just a very, very strong spirit. They don't necessarily break the game. It's more standard. They're not going to do anything kind of beyond what most spirits can do. They just do it better. Just with lots of plays, lots of stalling, lots of defense. And one of the first times I played them, I used the strategy where you do Growth 2, which causes you to discard cards, and just keep doing Growth 2 over and over again until you pretty much unlock all of your tracks. And because of the elements that you get from that. You can stall with it. Works well up to a certain difficulty. It's just a really, really strong spirit. So I'm gonna put Downpour in my A tier. Next up is Finder. Finder of Paths Unseen. Yeah, they're going up to S tier. For breaks the game tier, just with certain combinations of spirits. The fact that they can isolate lands and gather invaders up into one land to just destroy them all at once is very, very good. I'm not great with Finder. The last game I played with them was Finder Volcano, which is a strong combination, and I was able to beat, I think, level 4 Habsburg. Matchup that I should have been able to beat a lot easier than I did, but Finder was making it difficult to kind of get the spatial recognition when I was also handling another spirit. So while I'm not particularly the best Finder player, they can absolutely break the game with the ability to make lands adjacent to each other across the whole island. Very, very strong spirit. And again, not necessarily the strongest in true solo. I haven't tried that personally. I know other people have, and it seems workable. But in team games, especially large team games, they are an excellent spirit. And that's going to go true for Fractured Days Split the Sky as well. So the ability to stop lands from doing things, stop boards from doing things, is amazing. The ability to kind of change out the invader deck and kind of pull back a lower invader level card is very strong. They can give repeats. They can give fast powers, or give fast powers to spirit. Yeah, they can do a lot, and in certain combinations, I know if you pair them with Spread of Rampant Green and Repeat Gift of Proliferation, it's just an amazing combination and can absolutely break the game. I know in true solo, they might struggle a little bit, but as a partner in team games, they are amazing, and that's why they're going up here in my S tier. Next up, I have Grinning Trickster Stirs Up Trouble. I really like Trickster. I think they're pretty strong. I don't know if they're A tier strong, though. I'm going to put them in B tier. The randomness doesn't hurt too much. I did have one game where I somehow drew 3 cards throughout the course of the game that added Blight, 3 minors with Let's See What Happens, which there were only like 4 of those in the whole deck, and I happened to draw 3. And 2 of them caused Cascades. So luck can work against you with this spirit. But for the most part, you can mitigate the luck. I do think that Strife is a very strong token, but Strife can be hurt by both events and by fear cards, actually. If you're putting Strife in the land, expecting it to Ravage and Dahan to fight back and kill everything, and then they skip the Ravage because of a fear card, that can hurt you too. So one of the rare instances where fear cards are not only not beneficial, but can be detrimental. And that's something that can happen with Trickster. I don't think they have any real weak matchups. I've played them against most of the adversaries, and they seem overall strong. So it's borderline A and B tier, but I'm going to go ahead and keep them B tier, just because of the random factor and the fact that they rely on Strife, which can be hurt by events and fear cards. Alright, next up I have Heart of the Wildfire. And Heart of the Wildfire is a tricky one. Their offense is good. I feel like they really struggle at higher difficulties. They can destroy low-level difficulties like nobody else. But at higher difficulties, when there's more stuff on the board, stuff has more health, stuff is doing more damage, I think they do struggle. So I'm between C and D tier here for Wildfire. They do offer a little bit of support in team games. I think that what's it called? The Strength of Flame, the one that gives extra damage dealing powers and energy, is pretty good. And certain combinations, like with Spread of Rampant Green, can be very, very good. But C or D? I'm going to put them in C tier. Maybe that's too high. It's borderline. I think they do struggle in certain matchups, especially against higher difficulty adversaries. Their offense is amazing though, and they can certainly kind of take out a lot of stuff. Yeah, I think I'm comfortable putting them in C tier though, just because of their offensive potential. In team games, they offer a little bit of support to other spirits. The fact that they add so much blight to the board, though, can be an issue in certain combinations, and it could potentially flip the blight card sooner, which can hurt spirits as well. So that's why I'm putting them in C tier, kind of in the middle. I think is appropriate for Wildfire. Next is Keeper. I'm gonna go ahead and throw Keeper up in A tier here. For a long time, I played Keeper as a top track spirit. I would go to 2 card plays bottom. Well, everybody does the same opening with Keeper. Basically, you draw a minor first turn. Then, depending on what the minor is, you either go 2 card plays or top for the sun. Play cards totaling 1 energy on your first turn, usually the Gift of Growing Power. And then on your second turn, you're able to do Double Growth and get to 4 card plays, or excuse me, 4 energy and 2 card plays per turn, which is very, very good for turn 2. And recently I've been turned on to a minor power focus spirit where you just go, you go to that 4-2 start and then just go bottom track. And you can get to 3 card plays on turn 3 and just keep going from there. I think it's really, really strong. Basically, you can get to 4 energy per turn and 5 card plays by turn 4 or 5. And the amount of lands that you can deal with is just amazing. I don't think they necessarily have any weak matchups. Maybe Habsburg, but I haven't tried that matchup personally. Other than Habsburg, though, I think they're really good against every adversary. And you can go minors to just kind of use all of your innate powers and your uniques and kind of fit the theme of a towering ent that destroys all of the invaders and Dahan in its lands. Or you can just go high energy and sling majors and destroy stuff that way. It's very, very strong. Next up is Lightning, and this gives me a chance to mention that I'm not focused on aspects here. When I get to each of the spirits with aspects, I will talk about them, but I'm going to rank them based on the original spirit. And for Lightning, I think they're a solid C tier spirit. C or B, maybe. Maybe B. They have some weaknesses, but some good strengths too. Yeah, I'll throw them in B tier for now. We'll see if that's right. Lightning is strong. You go the standard growth option where you play no cards on your first turn, you get to 2 energy. Second turn, you get to 3 card plays and play 3 cards, and then you get stuck in a reclaim loop until either somebody supports you or you get enough cards that you can take a turn off and actually grow some a little bit more. But they are very strong, even with getting stuck in that reclaim loop by turn 2. They can destroy buildings, they can give allies fast powers, which is great. They can move Dahan around and generate fear. Just a very solid spirit. A little bit boring just because of the reclaim loop that you get stuck in. But if they get a little bit of support for anybody, like if you're playing with River and get Boon of Vigor, or if you're playing with Spread of Rampant Green and get extra growths, that can kind of unlock them, get them out of that reclaim loop, and get them going. As far as the aspects go, I think Pandemonium is fantastic. Pandemonium would also be B tier, probably maybe even A. I think it's very good. The amount of fear that you generate is insane, especially in a true solo or duo game. And I actually have not played Immense, so I'm not going to rate that one. One of the few aspects that I have not touched. But Pandemonium and Base Lightning, both B tier for me. They are very good, if a little boring. Next is Lure of the Deep Wilderness. Lure... I'm between A and B. Lure is really, really strong. I do think they have some weaknesses. I'm going to go B tier for Lure. Lure is great. It basically invalidates Russia as an adversary. Against other adversaries, they can struggle a little bit more. The ability to just downgrade cities or towns to explorers can get around extra health from events or from England or Habsburg, so that part is pretty good. Um, and I think they can deal with the coasts a little bit easier than Ocean can deal with the inlands, so that's not a big deal. But I find that its play patterns are a little constrained. You always feel like you're either not getting enough elements that you want, or not getting enough energy that you want, or not getting enough card plays that you want, which is a good thing. You have to make choices with lore, and they're probably one of the best spirits in terms of balance between the kind of top and bottom track, and you can even do a balance between the two. So to that end, there are a lot of different growth options with lore. They're very versatile in that regard. They play with tokens, which is great. I love token spirits. I'm almost talking myself into putting them in A tier because I think lore is excellent. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and bump them up to A tier. The inland restriction is not hard enough that it's going to stop them from dealing with coastal lands. They can generate a lot of fear. They add Badlands, do a ton of damage, and can clear out the inlands. They, as far as I can tell from what I've played, don't really have any weak matchups. Maybe France, but they can deal with everything okay. So I'm going to stick with them in A tier now. I'm changing my mind about lore, but I'm okay with that now. Next up, we get Many Minds, another Fear Spirit. Fear and defense, though, so a little bit different from Bringer. And for now, I'm going to go ahead and throw Many Minds into B tier. I think they are very strong. First time I beat England 5 was with Many Minds. The fear they generate is crazy, so they can go ahead and do that in true solo. Just like other Fear Spirits, though, the fear they generate is worth less as you get into more higher player counts, when you can't just by yourself generate a fear card. It just gets harder. Unless you play with all Fear Spirits, but then they're all generating fear cards, and it's still a little bit less valuable. The defense that they offer is crazy. They have skips, which is great. The ability to skip actions is good. So I'm almost talking myself into A tier, just like I did for lore. They are a beast spirit, which is super fun. But I think I'm going to stick with them in B. They're a very strong spirits, but I think the fact that they rely on defense and stalling and skips, while not offering the support that green does, it does keep them from being A tier for me. But I do love Many Minds. If I play them more, they could move up to A tier. They're very good. Next is Ocean. Ocean's got the opposite restrictions that lore does. So Ocean's Hunger Grasp. Ocean's Hunger Grasp is really, really strong in true solo because they generate a lot of fear and can eat the coasts. They get weaker as the player count increases because they're going to get less energy for each drowning. So unless you have a team specifically catering to pushing stuff into the ocean, they're going to get less energy throughout the course of the game, but they're still strong. They still have their niche. So I'm going to go ahead and put them in B tier. I don't think they're as strong as lore is. Probably better in true solo, but when it comes to team games, especially larger team games, once you get above 2, I think Ocean can struggle and get a little bit energy starved. Still a very strong spirit, though. They generate good fear. They have destruction of the coast. So yeah, I'm going to stick with B tier for them. River. River surges in sunlight. So I think that's another solid B tier spirit. River Surges in Sunlight has some bad matchups, specifically against England. They're terrible against England, even just England 3. Like, England 5 is where it becomes really untenable for River. I know people have done it, but it's a very hard matchup. Otherwise, though, really good support. Boon of Vigor is an amazing card that can kind of give your teammates lots of energy if they're relying on card plays. It's a good partner for Lightning because of that. It's a good partner for other spirits. I recently beat, I think it was Brandenburg Prussia 6 with River and Lightning, just because they kind of help each other out a lot. So River, very strong spirit. They can destroy everything in a land as long as it has 2 health or less, which is why they struggle against England. But pushing stuff around, control, one of the best control spirits in the game. So I'm going to go ahead and put them in B tier. As far as the aspects go, I think that Travel River is about the same. Travel River is super fun. I don't know that it's necessarily better than Base River, so I would probably have it B tier as well. And then for Sunshine River, it's a lot weaker. Losing Boon of Vigor is a lot worse than the benefits you get from Sunshine. So I think that Sunshine River is probably in D tier, maybe even F tier. It's just not nearly as good as Base or Travel. But Base and Travel, both amazing, and I will put them in B tier. Next is Serpent. And I know some people put Serpent in the breaks the game tier. I'm not sure that I necessarily would. They do have support. They can give teammates extra elements, extra card plays, extra stuff. They can stall amazingly well with Elemental Aegis, which is the best defense card in the game. Scales up really well. They can become a monster late game once they actually grow. But I feel like they need support in order to get there. If they're not getting active support, it's going to be pretty slow for them to build up to that. They're still strong, even when they're not fully awakened. The support they offer is great. But I don't know that I necessarily agree that they break the game. So I'm going to go ahead and put them in A tier. In true solo, they're fantastic because they can use all their target and other spirit cards on themselves. In team games, whether it's player count 2 or higher, I think they're really strong. The support they offer is great. Stalling they offer is great with their defense. And then again, they can become a monster late game. Just without receiving dedicated support, they are a little bit slow to get there, to get to Awakened. So I don't think they necessarily break the game, but they are one of the strongest spirits. So they're going to go A tier for me. Next is Shadows. Poor Shadows. I think Shadows is going to be my probably low and F tier spirit. Shadows was the first spirit that I ever played. I do have a soft spot for them, but the base Shadows is just not very good. And this is a very well balanced game, so even saying that it's F tier and then it's not good doesn't mean that you can't win games with it, especially on lower difficulties. Shadows just fine. Shadows, there are people who have beaten England 6 with Shadows because they're gluttons for punishment and like losing a lot. I prefer not to subject myself to that torture. But Shadows just doesn't have as much in its kit as other spirits do. And really the big problem with Shadows is its growth. You're going to be growing for the first 2, maybe 3 turns. You'll get 3 presents out. And you'll get to 2 card plays and 1 energy per turn, or 3 card plays and 0 energy per turn. It's just not good. They just don't grow fast enough to make up for that. By turn 4 or 5, you can get to 3 energy and 3 card plays per turn, which is okay. But that's something Keeper can do better by on turn 3. So it's just not... They grow way too slow. Their cards are fine. They're decent enough. They have the ability to reduce cities down to towns, which is good. And they actually have more fear on their starting cards, on their unique cards, than any other spirit in the game. So once they actually get the ability to play their cards, they can generate a lot of fear. The problem is that it's hard to get there. Now, if I was rating aspects, I played a Foreboding Shadows game recently against level 6 Sweden, alongside Pandemonium Lightning, and they are amazing. Foreboding is so much better. I would probably put Foreboding maybe up to B tier, because it just kind of fixes a lot of the issues with Shadows. You can actually do stuff from the beginning of the game. Base Shadows doesn't have that, though. Their kind of special rule is bad. You don't have the energy to spend to actually use it very often. Reach as an aspect is what Base Shadows should have been, but even Reach isn't that much better. I've beaten Russia with Reach at level 4, I think, and it's okay. I might put Reach up to D tier. It is what Base Shadows should have been, but it still doesn't raise it up that much. Madness is cool. I like getting Strife, and you get some benefit from when your presents get destroyed. But I don't think Madness is necessarily great either. It might be D tier or C tier. It's certainly better than Base Shadows. And then I haven't played Amorphous at all, so I can't judge that. The second aspect that I haven't played. So if I were to rate the Shadows aspects that I've played, I would put, let's see, I would put Foreboding up to C or D tier. Doesn't completely solve Shadow's problems, but it's a lot better. Madness, I would put in C or D tier. Reach, D tier. And then Base Shadows, it's F tier. And again, F doesn't mean that you can't win with the spirit or like the spirit. You can still do things. It's just the weakest spirit in the game. Next we get to Fangs. Sharp Fangs behind the leaves. I really, really like Sharp Fangs. Sharp Fangs is very fun. I'm not sure that they're good enough to be A tier. The restrictions that they have based on Blight, you can work around them with Terrifying Chase and with other stuff, but they can get screwed by the start with their restrictions on Ranging Hunt and others. But they're pretty versatile. You can go for a minor powers focused spirit, which is what I usually do, going along bottom track. You can go majors with top track using their 3 energy option per turn. So they're pretty good. I don't think they're as good as any of the A tier spirits though, so I'm gonna go ahead and put them in my B tier, which is growing very large. I mean, to get a little bit of a better spread here. We'll see if that happens. Next is Memory. So Shifting Memory of Ages. I like Shifting Memory of Ages. This is my partner's favorite spirit, so we have more plays with Shifting Memory than any other spirit, I think. I think that Shifting Memory relies a little bit too much on luck and a little bit too much on picking the right majors at the right times. So I don't think they're as good as any of my B tier spirits. So I would go ahead and put Shifting Memory in C tier. Solidly average. They're still good. They're fun if you like playing majors, which my partner loves. So she loves being able to draw majors on turn 1 or 2 and get 9 energy and just keep playing majors, and it's great. So it fits the theme really well. The support they can offer the other spirits is solid. They can give other spirits elements, which is nice. And give other spirits cards, which is really good. That can be a nice partner for lightning, especially when it's stuck in that reclaim loop. Lure really loves getting extra cards, and some others. So I do think that Shifting Memory is a good spirit, and C tier is good. So that's where I'm going to put them. Next is Mists, and I know that there are some Mists fans out there, so you might hate me for this, but I'm going to go ahead and put Mists in D tier. I'm just not good with them, so maybe that's the reason, but I just think Mists is very difficult to work with. They're a good partner for some spirits, good partner for Bringer of Dreams and Nightmares, because you can get stuff low health, and it's easier for Bringer to just attack it for extra fear. Good partner for green is get stuff low, so you can just kind of keep using your Creepers tear into Mortar, stuff like that. And it's a fear spirit, so it is strong in true solo when you can generate a lot of fear. They have some control, but I don't know, it just feels like it's a struggle to work with them. Every time I play, my mind is just kind of a mess trying to figure out how to stop all these ravages and builds and shuffle their presence around to try to do stuff. I think they rely on getting good minor powers, and you could potentially get good energy if you have a good fear farm set up, but that won't be until late game, so they're not the best major power spirit. They can still win. There are other people who are certainly better with Mists than I am, but for me, they are a D tier spirit. Alright, now I've got Starlight. Starlight's super fun. I've actually got a decent number of plays with Starlight. And I think they're definitely, I don't think they're A tier. They're not that good. So I'm between B and C for Starlight. I think I'm going to go with B tier. Just the ability to customize your spirit that much is really strong with a lot of the majors we can get. We can go minor power Starlight. I usually go major power Starlight though. And there are just so many options that you have. So you can respond to any situation. You have ravage skips in the beginning. You can give people extra cards. You can give yourself extra cards as you kind of regrow yourself into something new. The experience of playing Starlight is fun too, because depending on your card draws, you could play completely differently from game to game. One of my recent games with Starlight was with, what's the name of the card? It's the, I can't remember. It's the one where you can add a Strife, and then invaders with Strife damage other invaders and other lands and stuff. So I had that, and unlocked Sun from all my element tracks, so I could get to the Sun innate every turn, which gives fear and lets you reclaim a card. So I could pretty much reclaim that card every turn and play it, and it was super strong, especially when I started hitting the kicker on it, getting the invaders to attack adjacent lands with invaders. So there are a lot of things you can do with this spirit, and it's strong. It's not weak at all. So I'm gonna go B tier for them. Next is Stone. Yeah, they're going up to A tier. Stone is very strong, similar to Keeper in some ways, in that their growth tracks are just amazing. You get a lot of energy in card plays pretty quickly. You're going to be growing steadily. Every turn you get to place a presence down. They are just really, really good. You get to basically ignore Habsburg as an adversary, because you can just take Blight from the box, let them Blight, and then destroy them afterwards. Not necessarily the best support spirit, I guess. You can move presence into other people's lands to stop them from losing presence if you know that a Blight's going to happen. But yeah, they can do amazing damage to the invaders. They're a good major power spirit. You can... I haven't done it personally, but I know that it's pretty well balanced if you go bottom track as well and just go for the elements and stall that way and let the invaders break themselves against the stone. Their unique powers are good. Their innates are good. Yeah, just really, really strong spirit. So they're going to go A tier for me. Alright, next I have a Thunder Speaker. And Thunder Speaker is interesting to me. I feel like Thunder Speaker was hurt the most by the expansions. In the base game, Thunder Speaker might be the strongest, because they have amazing damage potential and can do a lot, can destroy towns and cities and stuff like that. I think that the fact that a lot of events can destroy Dahan hurts Thunder Speaker quite a bit. More than any of the token spirits get hurt by events, Thunder Speaker, it's just rough. And I know that events can add Dahan back in as well, just as much as they can destroy them. At least when I play Thunder Speaker, the destroy Dahan effects seem to come up more, or at least at worse times. So I think Thunder Speaker would have been an A tier spirit if it's just the base game. But when it comes to expansions, I think that they've dropped down a little bit. Still very good. So I'm going to go ahead and put Thunder Speaker in my increasingly crowded B tier. They have some weaknesses, but they are a very strong spirit. Next up is Vengeance. And Vengeance is interesting. I know on the Discord there's somebody who's been playing Vengeance against all the level 6 adversaries and beating them, and you know, that's really good. I think that they do have some weaknesses, more than a lot of my B tier spirits. So I'm going to go ahead and put Vengeance into C tier. You can do a lot. You can do a ton of damage with them. Arguably, Disease is the strongest token, so being able to get a lot of that out on the board is really good. But I think they do struggle, and having low presence on the board because you're letting your presence get destroyed for more Disease is potentially an issue, especially depending on what the Blight card is. And you're almost certainly going to get a Blight card when you do play Vengeance. So for me, that puts them into C tier, kind of in a similar boat to part of the Wildfire, where it's just kind of a dangerous game of brinkmanship that works and it's still fun and good, but can potentially be an issue. Alright, Vital Strength of the Earth. It's going to go D tier for me. So Vital Strength is a nice beginner spirit, probably the best one in the game. You have a Sacred Sight down, and you get 3 defense. Pretty good. You can move some Dahan in there, and they can fight back, and they can kill some invaders. The problem is that they're just so slow to get up there. You don't get 2 card plays until turn. I think it's no. You get 2 card plays on turn 2 if you go all bottom track. But I don't know. Just feels very slow. Doesn't feel very versatile. Their powers are expensive, so even though they do get a lot of energy per turn, you're not going to be able to make use of that very often. And then they, I don't know, they just don't seem to handle high-level adversaries very well because they are so slow and just can't handle a lot of different lands at once. And their starting cards, while expensive, are not even that good. So the Guard the Healing Earth is nice, removing a blight and adding a 4 defense, and the fast phase is good. Rituals of Destruction is not great. It's just, for Earth by himself, it's hard to get 3 Dahan in a land that you want to use that on. So I don't think it's great. It's expensive, and it's going to max out at 5 damage with base Earth and 2 extra fear. It's just not fantastic. And the skip ones, a Year of Perfect Stillness, is good, but it's just stalling for 3 energy, which is a lot. It can be good against maybe England, that if they're like ravaging building in a land, skip 3 actions, very nice. But otherwise it's just stalling, and with Earth you don't grow fast enough to take advantage of that like you can with some other spirits. So they're D tier for me. As far as their aspects go, Might, super fun. I've only played 1 game with Might, but it's a lot better. I would definitely bump Might up to C tier, maybe even B. The ability to actually play more cards and make use of your innates is very strong, and doing extra damage with all of your damage dealing powers, also excellent. And yeah, with base Earth, I didn't even mention the ability to support people by letting them replay powers, because with your limited card plays, you don't get to it that often, really, I found. It's good when you can. Repeating cards is great, especially since you don't have to pay the cost again. But just doesn't happen often with base Earth. With Might Earth, it happens more often, since you have more card plays. So Might Earth would definitely be C or B. Base Earth is a D tier spirit. I haven't played Resilience, so I can't speak to that, but it doesn't seem like it changes it too much, except you don't defend Dahan. So I'd probably keep that D tier as well. And then finally, Volcano looming high. I love Volcano, one of my favorite spirits from Jagged Earth. It evokes the fantasy of being a volcano that slowly builds and erupts very well. You can play it where you do a lot of smaller eruptions, or just build up for one large eruption. I think that Volcano is a good spirit. They do have some weaknesses. They're mostly just focused on damage, a little bit of control with pushing stuff around. They have some support. Being able to give energy to other spirits is really nice. But their limited mobility, limited defense, limited control. I would go ahead and put them in C tier, I think, along with the other offense-spoken spirits like Vengeance and Volcano and Heart of the Wildfire. I actually think it might be a little bit better than those spirits. I'm considering putting it up in D tier. Or in B tier, excuse me. Maybe it's a B tier spirit for me. I'm not sure. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and throw Volcano into B tier. I really like Volcano. The damage you can do is fantastic. Getting extra range from having three presence in a mountain, surprisingly good. There are a lot of 0 range powers that you can use more effectively than other spirits, just because you get the extra range on those. And yeah, it kind of makes up for the weakness of being restricted to the mountains very well. Yeah, but I don't think their weaknesses are enough to put them down into C tier. But definitely not an A tier spirit. I would keep them in B. So that's my tier list. You can see B tier is pretty crowded. Balance in this game, very good. I think most spirits do well in most matchups. There are some weak matchups for individual spirits, but otherwise everybody can really handle their own, especially at low to mid difficulties. Once you get up to higher difficulties is when the differences between spirits are kind of more apparent, and that's when shadows and earth fall off especially. So you can see that there. But most spirits are strong but not overpowered, which is why I would put most spirits, or the plurality of spirits, here in B tier. So good job, Eric, with designing this game. It is my favorite board game of all time. And a lot of spirits with a lot of variety are viable at any difficulty, which is kind of amazing given how asymmetric this game is. So that was my tier list. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to let me know how wrong I am about a particular spirit, feel free. I'm sure that there are some that I like more than I should, and that I hate more than others. But I'm going to stick with this for now. Maybe in a year I'll come back and revise this when I've played more, and see how crazy I was to put certain spirits where they are. But thanks for watching, and have a great day, everyone.